This is Paint the Town Red Speedrun Rejects, also known as Terrible Ideas for Paint the Town Red Speedruns. Don't worry, I did ask for these suggestions. These people are not stupid. They're just very creative. Scenarios while constantly jumping. As suggested quite a while ago by Supa Player, surprisingly it's not too difficult, but it's just very boring, and slightly frustrating as well. The way I did this was by binding jump to right click and then turning on an auto clicker, but there are plenty of much more intelligent ways to go about this. Somehow I never learnt a timing for when to hit enemies during this video, but it's obvious watching this back when you're meant to strike at the start of the descent of the jump each time. Why is this a reject, you might be wondering? Well, after a few attempts it essentially turns into 100% for all the scenarios, but longer. It's really fun to have one or two tries at it, and then it becomes awful. But yeah, I recommend having a go at this. I think it's easier than you think it'll be. It's not too bad. Move the disco ball into Katana Boss's office, or disco ball %. So, with kicking and nudging, you can actually wrench the disco cube ball off the ceiling at disco, across the dance floor, up the stairs, and into Katana Boss's office. Sometimes in under a minute, as I did in this video. Very fun little idea for a category, but even though this seems to be completely calculated, of course, in this video, the cube behaves very randomly when kicking it and nudging it around the place. I have no idea why, but it's super inconsistent. Well, this doesn't mean you shouldn't spend like a bit of time speedrunning this for a laugh. Have a try, see if you can beat my time. The run ends when the disco ball is inside his doorway if you're interested. It's just a bit dumb, really. Scenarios with invert Y, as suggested by wamcrash. Oh bloody hell, I felt sick after trying this. It was way more disorienting than I would have imagined. I was embarrassingly bad with it on as well. After a while I realised that keeping yourself at the same height works well, because attacks are mostly always done at head height anyway on different scenarios, particularly by bar, saloons, stuff like that. But it would be a catastrophe to learn this properly. I also used to play Nightfire on the PS2 with inverted controls, but it was no help. I think I've lost all that muscle memory. But to be fair, I didn't play this for very long with this on, at least, invert Y, so it wouldn't be at all hard to get used to, I don't think. I think it would make for a suitably different speedrun to normal, with a bit of practice. But then again, if you learn it, it's just a more annoying, stupid version of 100%, so yeah. Chair %. I even made a standalone video on this category a few months ago. Basically, you just have to beat Akobie with only chairs and bar stools as weapons. Any chair item that crumbles into legs and its seat and the back and stuff, if it has a back. As it turns out, you need to be either cheating or incredibly lucky to kill every enemy with just chairs and stools with no modifiers, because most chairs break in either 1 or 2 hits, and the overwhelming majority would have to be 3-hit chairs to defeat the level. And stools, of course, because stools are another kind of chair. In the end, I did allow myself to use punches after all the chairs had been broken, because they were much slower, much less damaging, and you got infinite punches, of course. Akobie is also the only official scenario where the speedrun is like you could imagine finishing it, because Saloon and Pirate Cove have nowhere near enough chairs, even though they do have a few chairs. Prison and Disco almost have no chairs at all. I don't know, maybe this could be expanded to include plates or mugs or something like that to make it a sort of proper bar fight with random bits of stuff around the bar, making it a weaponless speedrun instead, like not direct weapons. But for now it's just rubbish, it's just stupid. Shark %, suggested by RSG. It's kind of like chair %, where on Pirate Cove you have to kill every enemy with the ocean or sharks in the ocean. This is possible to do, technically, in every attempt, unlike chair %, because you never run out of the kick power that allows you to push enemies into the ocean. You could even use a few shockwaves, provided the blast itself or the impact doesn't kill an enemy, to get people to aggro on you and stuff. The only problem is Blackbeard, who's immune to kicks and shockwaves, as it happens. There is actually a pathfinding bug that you can do in an older patch before 1.2.0, where he walked into the ocean off the large beach. I don't have a clip of it, unfortunately. I wish I did. It happened once when I was playing multiplayer with the Supa Player, mentioned earlier. Entirely of his own volition, by the way. He'll just walk into the ocean. Pretty brilliant. If the player stands on the opposite side of the beach on the pier. But otherwise, we could block him during a jump between the boats and the rocks, causing him to fall into the water, possibly. Might also work. Unfortunately, I've not been able to do this recently, and it may no longer be possible. Complications with actually how to do this run and prove it's legitimate, especially during the run itself. I mean, it's just a terrible category. It's kind of fun though, I suppose, because all the sharks, animations, all the water, it's good. Die to all shard lords %. Beneath category, suggested by Akobie. I did ask for dumb suggestions, and this is spot on because the RNG is worse than anything currently available to run on the leaderboard, I imagine. Yeah, if you want to try this, then be my guest, but I imagine it'll be the worst thing you've ever done in your life. Fluffles%. I hate to dignify that name by even using it here, but yes, you just kill the naked prisoner in prison as quickly as possible. If you don't know, that's a community name for him. Now forget that you ever heard that. I can't remember who suggested this, but it might have been the very person who gave him that name. If you know, you know. Really not any more impressive or boring than Boss% nowadays, but it's far more stupid and takes a couple seconds. It's just dumb. Basketball%, or squareball%, as Jacksepticeye might have called it. It's pretty straightforward. You just make a basketball shot in the hoop on prison. Using the throw function to do this is actually terrible. The bouncing is near impossible to calculate, and it's much easier to drop it with G. So I suppose it's more of a dunk. If anyone knows how to do a proper long-range shot that's perfectly lined up, that'd be amazing. But it's just another fun idea like the disco ball run. The problem is, kind of like Fluffles%, it's pointless because you'd save frames at best over other people. When the run hadn't been optimized at all you need to do is run forwards to the net, grab the ball, jump, hit G, and then it falls into the net. But hey, that's why it's on this list, I suppose. Move every prop into the biker bar basement. This has sort of been a community challenge for ages, suggested this time by RSG, but I've seen a couple of people post their cluttered basements in the network images channel on the Discord. I, however, have no friends who can tolerate this game anyway, and did the run by myself. It was a nightmare. Not only is this incredibly difficult to prove you've done, but incredibly frustrating to reset, because the slightest tankard, plate, bottle breaking outside the storage room is effectively a fail. This means carrying items all the way to the door is the only option, or throwing them occasionally if you're very brave. In the video here I really couldn't be bothered to move every tankard, so a couple broke did during throws. I guess it's a fail there. But other than that, it's a pretty complete image of the basement. It's full to the brim with every item you can pick up in the level, and every enemy's body as well, in addition to that. No voxels that I'm aware of left outside, although there is a bit of blood. One step further here would also be to move every spinning chair and keg into the basement, which you can't pick up, so you'd have to do it by kicking or punching them. That thought, however, was too much for me, and I can't ever recommend doing this. Even with 3 friends, it's a bit of a pointless endeavour. Those are the Paint the Town Red rejects for this video. I'm happy to make another one of these, by the way, so leave any suggestions in the comments below. I'll try and do it, see if it's rubbish enough to be showcased. So yep, so stay tuned for that. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.